sucks when you see someone you love with someone else, but I just want her to be happy.
No one expected this. Out of nowhere, Justin Bieber dropped a track and instantly the internet went up in flames. Fans say it isn't just a song, it's a confession. A haunting, emotional echo of one final night with Selena Gomez. Lyrics? Sharp, raw, almost too personal. Within minutes, Jelena started trending again. Old wounds reopened. Theories flooded faster than retweets. Is this Justin finally breaking his silence after all these years? Or is it a desperate cry for something lost and maybe still wanted? I'm never going to stop loving you. That one lyric has millions asking, is this closure or a crack in the door? One thing's clear, he knew the world would listen. And we are, every lyric, every pause, every post. So sit tight, because what we're about to uncover might just change how you see all three of them. Forever. It all started back in March 2025. Selena Gomez released a surprise collab album with her fiancé Benny Blanco. The title? I Said I Love You First, and just like that, the charts cracked wide open. But it wasn't the whole album that set the internet ablaze, it was one track, track 9. How does it feel to be forgotten? From the first listen, fans knew. This wasn't just a breakup song. This was a lyrical warhead, elegant, sharp, dripping with restrained rage. And whether she named names or not, every word felt in straight at Justin Bieber. She didn't have to be direct. You walked in, big grin. Talking. Like we're friends. Honey, what were you thinking? It didn't read like fiction. It felt like memory. Then came the chorus, cold and unapologetic. You're so embarrassing. Go cry when no one's watching. How does it feel to be forgotten? That line alone. A gut punch. Fans instantly linked it to Justin's emotional posts over the years, the teary selfies, the cryptic captions. And just when the internet thought it couldn't get more intense, Selena dropped a Spanish outro. Translated, now all is said and done. All is forgotten. A bilingual mic drop. The track wasn't just a goodbye, it was a funeral. And somehow the whole world was invited. As soon as How Does It Feel to Be Forgotten hit streaming platforms, timelines exploded. Within hours, Jelena trended globally. TikTok creators dissected every bar. Twitter was a war zone. Was this Selena's final word on Justin? Or a subtle, sophisticated slap in the face? One viral TikTok said it all. A creator lip-synced. The venomous line, he loves me, I love him. Look at you, just look at you now. While splicing clips of Selena and Benny looking like couple goals cut against recent paparazzi shots of Justin looking lost. The contrast? Brutal. Then came the receipts. Just days after the album dropped, Bieber went live on Instagram. His energy? Off. The lighting dim, his voice shaky. Fans clocked the timing right after Selena's album launch. Coincidence? They didn't think so. Comments flooded in, he's spiraling. This man is not okay. And the drama didn't stop there. Bieber posted a photo showing off a new nose piercing, but fans weren't paying attention to the jewelry. They were focused on his eyes. One commenter wrote, "You look drained, bro." Then like clockwork came the meme. On April 3rd, Bieber shared a Lord of the Rings meme showing Gollum with the caption, "Girls on social media when they get engaged." No names. No tags. But fans knew who he was talking about. He just shaded his ex-fiancée publicly after being married for nearly a decade. Whether it was heartbreak, ego, or just bad timing, something was off. And fans could feel it. To truly grasp the weight of this moment, we have to rewind way back. 2009, when Justin and Selena first crossed paths. They were just kids, introduced by their managers, publicly. They played it cool, privately. Sparks were already flying. By 2011, the fairy tale was in full swing. Justin rented out the entire Staples Center for a private Titanic screening. Selena called him a good kid. Fans called it the beginning of everything. The paparazzi, the cryptic tweets, the whirlwind that became their romance, it never stopped. But fame didn't just document their love. It fractured it. Selena gave Justin a Diamond J promise ring, and yet by late 2012, they were off. Again and again. For years, their love became a loop on again, off again chaos, each cycle birthing another heartbreak anthem. Then 2018 arrived like a THUNDERCLAP. Within months of their final breakup, Bieber was married to Hailey Baldwin. Fans were blindsided. Selena. Gutted. Her response came through Music Lose You to Love Me, a stripped, aching ballad. It wasn't just a goodbye. It was an exorcism. Since then, both walked separate paths. Bieber became a father. Selena found love with Benny Blanco. But the echo? Still loud. And how does it feel to be forgotten? Feels like that echo finally answering back. Yeah, it's not just Selena who's been haunted by the past. It's Justin, too. His Instagram feed throughout early 2025? Chaotic, meme-heavy, mood-swinging. 1 moment he's joking about engagement culture. The next he's posting cryptic quotes about identity, faith, and self-hate. Even the fans knew something deeper was unraveling, because with Justin, silence has never been just silence. It's been a scream in disguise. In early April 2025, a track leaked. Not just any track, but a haunting, stripped-back demo. No title, no credits, just vocals that unmistakably belonged to Justin Bieber. And the lyrics? They didn't just stir. Nostalgia, they detonated it. You said you were done, but I never was. You found your peace, I found your drugs. Now you sleep sound while I replay us. I swear I saw you in my son's eyes. That line alone was enough to send TikTok into a spiral. Within hours, the clip was everywhere, overlaid on old Jelena edits, stitched into emotional reactions, dissected like gospel. Fans dubbed it Paris Unreleased, referencing the line, "We left something in Paris, didn't we?" And suddenly, every theory had legs. Was this Justin's long-rumored confessional? The one insiders whispered had been recorded during a low-point post-Hailey but shelved to avoid reigniting drama? The internet thought so. Even more shocking? Just 3 days after the leak, Justin's team scrubbed the audio from most platforms' DMCA. Strikes, takedown notices, everything. But the damage was done. Once a song hits hearts, not just ears, it lives forever. Then came Hailey's silent signal. She unfollowed a major Selena fan account. Subtle? Maybe. Coincidence? Doubtful. The fanbase took it as a clear message. Lines had been crossed. Again. But then Selena did the unthinkable. She liked a comment that simply read, "It's always been you." It always will be. That's single like. It shattered the already fragile digital ceasefire. Fans lost their minds. Some claimed it was meant for Benny, others were convinced it was a wink at Justin. Either way, it became the most screenshotted moment of the week. And just like that, the love triangle wasn't just back. It was fully reloaded. In the aftermath, media outlets scrambled to get statements. Everyone wanted to quote. Bieber's team stayed silent. Hailey's reps gave a generic no comment. But Selena's inner circle? They whispered something different. According to a producer close to Rare Beauty, Selena had anticipated backlash. When recording the album, she was emotionally prepared, they said, but not creatively defensive. Translation: she meant what she said. Every lyric, every layer. And she wasn't going to backpedal for comfort. Meanwhile, Justin's inner circle pushed a different narrative. Friends reportedly urged him to reclaim his story through music. Not for revenge, but for truth. They believe Paris Unreleased was never supposed to leak. That it was part of a bigger, carefully crafted body of work. A potential concept. Album. One about time loss and the lives we outgrow. But now, with fan theories boiling and Hailey's patience tested, that vision might never see the light of day. Or it might see the wrong kind of spotlight, and that's where things get even more twisted. Multiple outlets have confirmed that. Selena and Hailey have been approached separately about starring in rival documentaries. One backed by Netflix promises an uncensored dive into Selena's healing and rebranding era. The other, pitched to Hulu, wants to center on Hailey's experience navigating public villainy and private loyalty. Neither woman has said yes, yet but if either project moves forward, it could cement their stories, their versions, as canon. And then there's Justin. Behind the scenes, sources say he's been in meetings with a new creative director, someone known for documentary-style visuals, poetic monologues, and minimalist studio sessions. A comeback rollout may already be in motion. Quiet, calculated, cathartic. The only question left, will it be a redemption arc or another rerun? Because this isn't just about music anymore. This is legacy warfare, and someone's about to win. But here's the twist: what if no one actually wins? Because as the dust settles and fans slowly shift from decoding lyrics to defending sides, a deeper fatigue sets in. Not just for the celebrities, but for the audience too. The emotional investment, the parasocial chaos, the years of loving, grieving, and theorizing over people we've never met. It's starting to weigh heavy. You can feel it in the timelines. Fewer fan edits. More wellness posts. Less trolling. More silence, and maybe that's the real shift happening here. Selena's fans, once warriors in a decade-long lyrical war, are now quoting her affirmations, reposting her mindfulness reels, tagging friends in rare impact updates. She's no longer their wounded icon, she's their mirror for moving on. Meanwhile, even Hailey's most loyal supporters are drawing boundaries. No more triangle talk, one wrote. She deserves her own headline. That sentiment is spreading, and Justin? The narrative surrounding him is murkier than ever. Half the internet wants his comeback. The other half wants him to finally rest. His silence has become both a mystery and a message, one that fans can no longer agree on. The myth of Jelena is still alive, but its grip is loosening. Not because the story isn't dramatic enough, but because for the first time, people are choosing peace over participation. And maybe that's the most unexpected plot twist of all, because real healing isn't loud. It's quiet. Private. Off. Camera. Int. If you listen closely, you'll hear it. Not in a verse or a comment or a viral theory, but in the spaces where nobody posts anymore. The war is ending. The silence wins, and in that silence, a new story is starting to take shape. It's not built on heartbreak or rivalry, not fueled by clickbait or coded lyrics. It's quieter, slower, almost invisible to those still stuck in the loops of the past. But it's there. Selena is no longer writing music for the ones who left. She's writing for the girl who stayed. The one who had to rebuild herself in private while the world obsessed over her pain. Her lyrics aren't just songs anymore, they're soft blueprints for self-worth, for boundaries, for peace. And the fans who once screamed in defense are now whispering things like, "I want that kind of calm." Hailey, for all the backlash and distortion, has found something unexpected too. Not redemption in the eyes of strangers, but a kind of resilience. When the world painted her as the villain, she stayed still. When fans threw hate, she posted skincare and family photos. Her silence wasn't weakness, it was survival. And slowly, people are realizing that not reacting can be its own power. And Justin, maybe his role was never to be the hero or the heartbreak. Maybe he was just a boy who grew up too fast, loved too hard, and got stuck between two mirrors each. One reflecting who the world thought he should be. Now, as he steps back from the spotlight, there's a question hanging over him like a final chorus. Will he finally write a song for himself? Because for all the documentaries and diaries and demos, he's never really done that. The love triangle that defined a generation didn't end with a winner. It ended with three people choosing themselves, and that might be the most revolutionary thing of all. Because when the noise fades, when the timelines stop refreshing, and when fans finally log off, the real story isn't about who was right or who hurt more. It's about who made peace. And in the end, maybe that's the only closure that matters. So what happens now? Not in tabloids, not in fan edits, but in real life. The part no one posts about. Because healing isn't glamorous. It's not a red carpet appearance or a viral quote on a sweatshirt. It's messy, repetitive, and often invisible. But it's happening. Selena's fans might still romanticize the Jelena era, but Selena herself is somewhere else entirely, building, creating, loving without apology. She's no longer performing resilience for the world. She's just living it, and that shift is louder than any song she could release. Hailey, too, seems to be reclaiming space. Not by fighting back, but by redrawing the lines. Whether it's through her business moves or the subtle silencing of drama through presence, not reaction, she's showing up for herself. And in a media culture obsessed with feuds and fallouts, that choice is quietly radical. As for Justin, the silence around him isn't empty, it's loaded with questions, regrets, and maybe even some relief. For the first time in years, he isn't trying to explain himself. And maybe that's because he finally understands not everything broken needs fixing. Some things just need to be let go. So, if you're looking for one more twist, another dramatic lyric, a public confrontation, it might not come. Because maybe the story isn't looping anymore. Maybe it's unraveling, and in that unraveling, We're all learning something that growing up doesn't always mean making peace with each other. Sometimes it means making peace with who you were when the world was watching, and maybe that's the true ending, not a dramatic showdown or a final post that ties everything in a neat bow, but a quiet acceptance that not every love story needs a sequel. Not every wound needs a response. And not every chapter demands to be read aloud. Selena is no longer trying to prove she's moved on, she simply has. Hailey doesn't need to defend her place anymore, she's claiming it on her own terms. And Justin? He's left to decide whether he'll continue chasing ghosts or finally build something that exists outside the past. Because here's the truth. The world may never stop asking questions, zooming in on old photos, decoding lyrics for clues. But the people at the center of this story, they might finally be done performing for it. And that more than any lyric or legal battle might be the most powerful plot twist of all. So now we're left with the echoes, not just of songs or captions, but of what this whole decade-long triangle meant to a generation. It was never just about them, it became about us. Our projections, our heartbreaks, our obsession with closure. We followed their every move because it felt like watching our own emotions unfold in real time, reflected in celebrities who seemed larger than life, yet painfully human. And now that the noise is fading, maybe what's left behind is something softer, something quieter. A reminder that not all stories end with applause, some just fade into memory. Maybe they were never meant to give us resolution. Maybe their only role was to hold a mirror to how deeply we crave it. So if you're still watching this timeline, still reading between the lines, ask yourself, what are you really looking for? Justice? Revenge? Redemption? Or just someone to feed me? Finally say, that hurt too, but I healed. Because in the end, that's all any of them ever tried to do. Heal, move forward, and leave the past exactly where it belongs behind them. And yet, the story refuses to die. Because healing isn't always linear. Some days it's acceptance, other days it's a late-night post, a song lyric, a silence that says too much. For Justin, Selena, and Hailey, moving on has never been private, it's been an act performed on the biggest stage imaginable. The internet. So even as Selena steps into her peace, Hailey draws boundaries and Justin searches for clarity. The world keeps refreshing, replaying, reanalyzing. Because for a generation raised on their love triangle, it feels like the ending still hasn't aired. But maybe that's the point, maybe there isn't an ending. Maybe it's a living story, one that shifts and redefines itself with each album drop. Every unfollow, every headline. It's no longer about who was right or who got hurt most. It's about what their story represents now: resilience, reinvention, and the cost of being seen. And maybe, just maybe, it's about learning to let go. Even if the world never really does, because when a love story spans more than a decade through fame, heartbreak, redemption, and reinvention, it stops being just a relationship. It becomes mythology. The kind people pass down in threads, retell in playlists, and remix into meaning. Selena's music is no longer a diary, it's a declaration. Hailey's silence isn't weakness, it's strategy. And Justin? He's no longer the center, he's the echo everyone keeps tracing back to. And for fans, the obsession isn't just with the drama, it's with the reflection of their own first loves, their own betrayals, their own unfinished chapters. That's why they stay. Not for new tea, but for familiar ache. Not because they haven't moved on, but because a part of them doesn't want to. So while Selena closes one door, Hailey strengthens hers, and Justin decides whether to knock again or walk away forever. The audience holds its breath. Because maybe, just maybe, the next lyric, post, or glance will answer the one question nobody can stop asking. Was it ever really over? And maybe that's the truth no one wants to say out loud, because it was never really about closure. Not for them, not for us. It was about connection. About watching three lives unfold in public, finding pieces of ourselves in every heartbreak. Every comeback, every lyric that felt too close to home. Selena found her voice not by shouting louder, but by whispering truths into songs that sounded like pages from our own journals. Hailey found power in silence, in curating her space, in choosing grace when the world demanded a reaction. And Justin, he's still somewhere in between. Caught between who he was, who he became, and who the world keeps telling him to be. This story was never just theirs, it became ours. A mirror. A cautionary tale. A playlist of all the things We felt but didn't know how to say. And now, as the headlines fade and the algorithms shift, what remains isn't the drama, it's the impact. The emotional DNA of an entire generation etched in verses, buried in comments, and carried in memory. Maybe the final lyric won't come from a song. Maybe it'll come from us. When we finally let them go, and maybe letting go doesn't mean forgetting. Maybe it means remembering differently, without ache, without blame, without replaying the same scenes hoping for a different ending. Because in the end, they were just people. Young, fragile, famous people trying to navigate love under a microscope, while the rest of us watched, judged, and sometimes loved them for it. Selena, with her quiet resilience, gave voice to those who felt unseen. Justin, with all his cracks and confusion, showed the cost of growing up in a spotlight. And Hailey, the most misunderstood of all, stood her ground when the world tried to write her out of her own story. This wasn't a love triangle. It was a coming-of-age saga played in real time. And now, maybe just maybe it's time to stop asking who was right or who won. Because maybe healing isn't about answers. It's about acceptance. And in that silence and that soft letting go, we all find a piece of our own closure too. Because when the music fades and the headlines blur, what lingers isn't the gossip, it's the growth. It's the way Selena turned pain into purpose. The way Justin tried again and again to find himself. The way Hailey learned to walk through fire without burning. What remains is the transformation, not the turbulence. And maybe that's what makes this story timeless. Not the drama, not the breakups, not even the songs. But the way three lives intertwined and untangled in front of millions. And still kept moving dots, so if you've ever loved someone who couldn't love you back, if you've ever been misunderstood, if you've ever stayed silent to protect your peace, this story was never just about them. It was about all of us. Watching, learning, healing. And now, maybe it's time we let them go. Just enough to finally hold on to ourselves. And yet even in that release, we circle back. Because healing isn't a straight line. It's a loop, a song on repeat with new meaning each time you listen. Fans will still refresh Instagram, still decode lyrics, still wonder what could have been if things had gone just a little differently. Because that's what stories like this do, they invite us to reimagine the endings. We never got closure from in our own lives, but here's the difference now. Selena isn't writing for the past anymore. She's writing from the other side of it. Justin, no matter how quiet or chaotic, is stepping away from being a symbol and back into being a person. And Hailey, she's no longer just someone's wife in the narrative. She's a woman carving out her own lane, even if the world refuses to see her beyond the shadows. The triangle might keep spinning in the minds of fans, but for the people inside it, they're learning to live outside the script, and maybe that's the real ending we never saw coming. So as the headlines fade and the noise dies down, what remains isn't a feud or a fairy tale, it's evolution. Growth that isn't always Instagrammable. Healing that doesn't come with a soundtrack. Because for all the public chaos, the real story has always been unfolding in the quiet. The quiet of Selena choosing peace over performance, of Justin confronting parts of himself no song can fix, and of Hailey standing tall despite the echo chamber. And maybe, just maybe, that's where the truth lives now, not in the lyrics or the live streams or the paparazzi flash, but in what doesn't need to be said anymore. Maybe we've reached the part of the story where silence isn't distance. It's dignity, because sometimes the most powerful plot twist isn't revenge or regret. It's release. And in that release, a new chapter quietly begins, not written for the fans, not curated for headlines, but lived behind closed doors. Selena's laughter with friends no one recognizes. Hailey's quiet mornings unposted. Justin's scribbles in a notebook that never see the light of Instagram. These aren't moments designed for the public, they're just life. Real, unfiltered, and finally untethered from the myth. Because the truest form of closure isn't always poetic. It doesn't always come in the form of a perfectly written lyric or a viral quote. Sometimes it's just waking up one day and realizing the past no longer pulls you back. You're not waiting for an apology. You're not writing subtext into songs. You're not watching someone else's story and wondering where you fit in. You've moved on. Quietly, fully, finally. And maybe that's the ending we never expected because it didn't make a sound.